where we could be alone between city lights. We don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
What's up? It is Sunday afternoon, and it's time to stream. How's it going, guys? Joshua Bardwell here. I am here. MBFPV wants me to check my MRBFPV wants me to check my directs on YouTube. MRBFPV, I made a little video about why it's impossible for me. I don't know how anybody keeps up with their directs on YouTube. Not on YouTube, on Instagram, because on Instagram, the way that the messaging is handled is terrible. It's impossible. It's just impossible to keep up with a huge quantity of messages. So if you direct message me on Instagram, I do reply to some of them. I'll go and I'll reply to the top, 20. And then it's sorry. If you need to get a hold of me, you can email me. I know email is not what the kids use these days. It's what your grandpa uses. Hello. I'm old. So you can email me, and then I'll answer your message. But if you direct message me on Instagram, there's a great chance that I will never even see your message. Sorry, Instagram needs to fix it. What Instagram needs to do, hi, welcome to the channel. I complain about Instagram. That's what I do. What Instagram needs to do is make it possible for me to tell the difference between a direct message from you and someone like @mentioning me. They put all the notifications in one big pile. So every time someone @mentions me, every time someone replies to my story, it's all in a great big pile with your DMs, and then it's impossible to keep track of it. So there you go. Yeah. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the live stream. Sunday afternoon, we're going to do some Q&A, everybody. Oh, hang on. Boop. Somebody complained that this little overlay that I have where I put this on my stream so that people could tell when because people ask me, when are you streaming? They were like, well, that's right where the captions go on YouTube. Is this getting away the captions? Yeah, I don't know. I just got that. I want to thank the creator of today's shirt. I don't know if you guys can read this. Hold on, let me see if I can get you. There you go. I want to thank the creator of today's shirt, and I want to let you guys know, and inspired by this comment. I was like, yeah, I love that comment. I'm gonna own that. Too much yakking about irrelevant stuff. Yes, absolutely. That's my goal, is to yak about irrelevant stuff. So I made a Teespring store, and you can hang on. Where's my Teespring store? Storefronts. There we go. You can go pick up this shirt if you want to. You could also pick up a couple other. I put a couple other things in there. I don't know. I tried Teespring a little while back, and I nixed it because I felt like the price. Like Teespring wants you to make like $15 a shirt. This shirt, Teespring's suggested price for this shirt is like $30, and I was like, I don't know. I'm not paying $30. I paid $30 for this shirt, but I wouldn't ask you to pay $30 for a shirt. So I marked it down so like the profit on the shirt is like $5. The shirt is still, I don't know, it's still kind of I guess $20. But then when you pay shipping, when you pay like $7 shipping, you're still paying like $30 for a shirt. But I figured I'd rather have you guys like having a nice, rep the brand, right? That's what you don't need to make money off the shirts. So you can pick up this shirt if you want to. Or you could just pick up a generic little logo shirt. I should do one with just my JB, because I don't use this logo. I like this logo. I didn't end up using it as much as I thought I would. So I should just do a JB. I don't know. Anyway, I just whipped this up this morning. Hope you guys can enjoy it. FPV is not a crime shirt. I don't know about that. If you're into good FPV shirts, this guy, you should go. Don't buy my shirts. Go buy this guy's shirts. FPV Drama Llama is so hilarious. Hang on, we're gonna get to the Q&A. Don't worry. I just BS for a while at the beginning of the stream, though. Welcome to the stream. FPV Drama Llama is so creative. This is because Horizon Hobby didn't defend FPV to the FAA, I believe. This is a reference to the drama at International Open about the this is some deep cuts right here. The drama at International Open about Catalyst Machine Works sign with women's butts on it. That's a deep cut right there. Here is a reference to a company that's no longer in business, Ubad. Oh, hey, here's me. Really delicious pizza. This harkens back to a time when someone was sending pizzas to my house during my live streams. Really delicious pizza. Yeah, this guy's got some great designs. Where's the funniest? The funniest one was, I like, where's the International Open? This is where I got my potato shirt too. Where's the International Open unicorn shirt? That's the one I really like. Well, anyway, it's got to be here. Was it like a one-off? Anyway, welcome to the stream. We're going to do some Q&A. Where is the Potato Riot shirt? That's a good question. See, I'm answering questions. Potato Riot. T-shirt. That, I can't remember where I got that. I would have guessed. Oh, bingo! I found it on Teespring. I don't know who made this. I have no idea who made this, but if you want that Potato Riot shirt, bang, there you go. Potato Riot, that's where I got it. I was available in more colors. Oh, here it is. Yeah, it's available in many colors. There you go. Potato Riot, somebody asked. So, welcome to the stream, everybody. I've said that like 5 times. I've been practicing my silent slurping, so you guys don't get mad at me. We're going to do some Q&A. No, but we really are. But before we do Q&A, we're also going to do news of the day. And I want to actually make an announcement. I want to make an announcement because... How do I do a text overlay here? I've decided to let you guys help me... To let you guys help me with the news of the day. See, you can, let's see. Let me pick the right font here. Oh, this is the most thrilling stream ever, isn't it? Are you guys thrilled? Is this the best? Hang on a second. Oh, no, it's already appearing. I need to... Okay, hang on. It's already appearing on the stream. Oh, there we go. Okay. Center it up. Snap to center. Oh, why won't you snap? Why won't it snap? Oh, this is going to drive me crazy. There we go. So I do a news segment at the beginning, and sometimes I have trouble coming up with news because I'm just heads down making videos. So I've created a new email alias, news@joshuabardwell.com. You can email news@joshuabardwell.com with news items for this segment, and obviously it's too late to do that for this week, but you can start doing that. And the only news item I have for this week is, I know, so many things happened this week, but this is all I've got. I know it's not centered. I'll fix it later. Here, let's just make it really off-centered just to really, as long as it's going to be off-center. Let's, oh no, wrong thing. There we go. We'll make it really off-center and just drive your OCD crazy here. Here we go. Boom. There you go. Here's the only news I've got this week. Look at this. Catalyst Machine Works got a new product out. Look at this little thing. I shouldn't say little. It's not little. Oh, no. No music, please. Let's not get any copyright strikes. That is a Red Epic X camera. I don't know. That's a tens of thousands of dollar camera. This is for not for your typical FPV pilot. This is for motion picture people. It is basically an FPV rig for a cinema camera. Okay, why not? You guys, this is actually way more popular than you would have thought, than I would have thought. A lot of... You probably know that, like the DJI... what is it, DJI S1000 or the Freefly Alta X that Rotor Riot flew. These are some big cinematic rigs carrying big expensive cameras, but they don't fly like freestyle quads. And sometimes people want to get the kind of shot that you can only get with a freestyle quad, but they want to get it with a $25,000, thank you very much, Trokilla RC. They want to get it with a $25,000 cinema camera. Well, you can't put one of these things. I mean, it weighs pounds. But here you go. Got a little redundancy. Got 8 motors, coaxial quad, 8 motors. And I said to Catalyst, I was like, so what firmware is it flying? It's flying Betaflight, because Betaflight has very good acro performance. Oh, Guillermo says 45K without the lens, even more. The numbers keep going up. I was like, well, what kind of redundancy, what kind of return to home has it got? And he's like, well, we tried Betaflight GPS Rescue, but it's not that reliable. I was like, so what are you going to do? He's like, well, I was like, well, you can't put Pixhawk on it. Pixhawk has great reliability, but it doesn't fly great. He's like, I was like, so what's the ammo, you know, what's your, they're like, well, we're going to do Crossfire at 2 watts, and we're going to have 8 insurance. That's what you're gonna do. Have insurance. So if anything goes wrong, you just have an insurance policy on the drone and the camera, and you cross your fingers. But you know, it's probably not gonna fail safe. You guys in the chat making fun of FrSky controllers. I mean, when have you... I have never had a crash that was a result of like a broken switch or a bad gimbal on a FrSky controller. I'm not saying FrSky is at the level of like a Futaba. Obviously, that's not true. But, you know, the thing is, you get some insurance. Oh my God, my mouse is on screen. How unprofessional. You get, you know, you have insurance and you be safe and you cross your fingers and here you go. 0 post-production. I feel like you could have at least done a color grade, okay? Like, just do a color grade. This is a red Epic. Like, at least make it look... This is a 25,000... I saw a little jello there. Anyway, there you go, guys. That's the news of the week. If you have more news of the week, email news@joshuabardwell.com with news items for this segment. You guys... I mean, I can't keep up with everything that's going on in the world of FPV, so I'm going to do what everybody else does and just crowdsource it to you. Like, for example, Hero Psycho points out, have I mentioned that Flynoceros is out of business? Holy crap, did you guys know that? Yes, sir, another one has fallen. Another one of the greats. Flynoceros is out of business. Boom. Very sad to hear that. Flyno made some very innovative frames, and also was one of the only companies to have like a lifetime warranty on their frames. Not the only. There is another company out there who I won't name who says they're the only one with a lifetime warranty. Well, now for the first time in a long time, that's actually true, because Flyno had a lifetime warranty on their frames, and every time I read that other company's website, I was like, why do you say you're the only lifetime warranted frames? That's not true. Well, finally it is true. Sadly. Yep. So, yeah, sorry to see them go. I'm not naming names. I don't like to point fingers. I just like to let you guys point fingers. Oh, man. CSMIC Fool says, let me turn this news of the day text off. We don't need this. Boop, there we go. All right. CSMIC Fool says, remember Linus from Linus Tech Tips tore down a red camera a few years back to show what it actually costs for a full rig. I remember that video too, CSMIC Fool. And I remember the Corridor Crew response to Linus's video where Linus, is this centered? Is this centered up? It's not quite centered up, is it? Linus was like, oh, this camera costs so much money. And they were like, yeah, well, when you've got $100,000 in labor standing around, spending 50 grand on your camera makes sense. Yeah. All right, let's wrap that up. Let's get on to the questions. Here's what we're gonna do. This is no. Wow, pro streamer. Here's what we're gonna do. You guys here in the chat, I'm gonna be answering your questions. TKOFPV says, I'm getting old. I'm having a harder time seeing my solder joints. Is there a way to check that, make the solder pads are not bridged? Yeah, TKO, get a, hang on, we're gonna find one. Let's see. Get one of these. Swing arm, not a mirror though. You want something like this. Swing arm lighted magnifying lamp kind of a thing. Like, just start searching and find something that works for you. This is what old guys like us use when we need to solder. It's a lighted, like this one could actually be good. This one could be good. So I'm going to paste this in the chat for you. It's an affiliate link. Enjoy it. And that's what old guys like us who are losing our vision use. You can also get a... there's one that you wear on your head, like a magnifying visor. Now, some people like this. It's a magnifying visor with light. Some people prefer this as opposed to a swing arm. It's 50-50. These are some of the things that old guys like us use when we need to check our solder joints. And see, that's how it works. That's how it works. You ask a question, I answer the question. Now, you see all these questions that are going by that I'm not answering because I'm just talking? If you want to make absolutely sure that I get your question, hit this $sign right down here. That's called a super chat. You spend a couple bucks, your question gets pulled out over here into a separate window that I'll also ignore. No, I'll get to these in a second. And these folks up here in the upper right, this is my Discord server. Kudos, hello to my patrons in the Discord server. J.C. Horn, Q-Tip, Anders Martinson, Archimedes, etc. I got a couple questions here, too. Short weekly news videos. I don't know, Archimedes. I have a lot of ideas for stuff I could be doing, but I don't have time to do them. Yeah. Anyway. Alrighty. Let's get some questions. Anders Martinson. No. Q-Tip in the Discord server. By the way, if you want to join my Discord server, become a patron. That's how you get the invite to my Discord server. Link in the video description to my Patreon. Have I plugged enough things? Plugged my t-shirts. I plugged someone else's t-shirts. Posted an Amazon link. Let's do some questions. Mr. Steele was recommending Beta FPV's starter kit to beginners. What do you think about that? Beta FPV... How am I going to find a link to this? Beta FPV, yeah, here we go. Has a new... They're actually sending me one of these to try out. They have a new... RTF kit. Now this is the advanced one for 170 bucks. They also have one for about 120 bucks. I am a big fan of any kit that comes with a goggles, a battery, a charger, basically everything you need ready to go out of the box. Now I usually recommend the Emax Tiny Hawk kit because I think that there's also a Newbie Drone kit, and now there's this Beta FPV kit. I have thought that the Tiny Hawk kit was the best sort of value for money. Beta FPV, these are pretty good quads. We'll have to see how the goggles and stuff are. There's every chance that at a price of about 100, if their basic kit is 130 bucks, there's every chance that that's going to be a pretty good deal. Yeah. Gabriel Rise says, are the EV200Ds worth it? Gabriel, the EV200Ds, they're one of like 4 decent goggles in about the $300 price range. The thing that the EV200Ds have going for them, there are 2 things they really have going for them. One is that they have a very large screen compared to some of the other goggles. They have decent image quality, and they have quadversity, so you can put 4 antennas on them. Sometimes that makes it better, get better range depending on the antennas you decide to put on there. That also touches on Kabir's question, best goggles under $500. The thing is, if your price point is $500 for the goggles, I feel like the SkyZone Sky 030 at a $400 price point is a pretty clear winner. If you're at $500, you can buy the HDO or the HDO2, but you couldn't buy a module for it. The module is going to put you over $500. But in the $400 price point, the SkyZone Sky 030 is very good. It's an OLED screen, great image quality, good reception. So Kabir, if you're absolutely stuck at $500, buy the SkyZone Sky 030 and have a couple bucks in your pocket for something else. Yeah, HDO2 is not under $500 once you put a module in it, which obviously you are going to need to do. But yeah, HDO2 is a great goggle. Let me get some of these super chats out of the way. TX Bone 66, thanks for 10 bucks. Just saying thanks for my help earlier. A day at the range, thanks for 5 bucks. I got 4+ miles on the 4-watt booster and then lost it. GPS is not working. Ouch. Yeah, don't go 4 miles. A day at the range has been putting a 4-watt amplifier on his FreeSky 2.4 gigahertz radio. It's not Crossfire. It's 4-watt amplifier on. And then if you're going to go 4 miles out, I don't know what kind of video were you using to go 4 miles out. Anyway, you definitely need GPS rescue. Multiple people asking about the shirt. The shirt is this shirt. It's one of my favorite YouTube comments. I showed it earlier in the stream, so I don't want to show it again. But this is multiple people are asking about the shirt. This is the shirt. I'll give you the link. Okay. Continuing with the super chats, Lenny Gordon, thanks for 10 bucks in the super chat. My drone started once. Yay! Now I only get half my startup tones. Boo! 4-in-1 ESC not responding. I checked continuity, it didn't beep, but the numbers changed away from 1. What should I check next? If you only get half the startup tones, so in other words, instead of going doo-doo-doo, doo-doo, it goes doo-doo-doo, and then nothing, it means your flight controller is not talking to your ESC. So, check the wiring, check the signal wires, check that the flight controller is powering up at all. Check the motor protocol. If you've set it to like an unsupported motor protocol, all of those things could cause it. The question, Lenny, is what happened? Why did it break? Those are the things I would check. If the flight controller is not powering up, check continuity and make sure it's got, you know, the connection is there. The flight controller could have just died depending on the flight controller. Aldo Fishing, thanks for 10 bucks in the super chat. I have a Tiny Hawk S. One ESC went bad. I just installed a new flight controller. Now when I arm, it idles, but when I try to throttle, it just flips and I have to rearm. It doesn't fly. It keeps doing it. Okay, so the problem for there, Aldo, is one of two things. Either your board alignment is wrong, your flight controller alignment is wrong, or one of your motors, one or more of your motors are spinning the wrong direction. I'm going to guess you installed the flight controller backwards or something. And the reason it's shutting down is because when the flight controller is facing the wrong direction, the quad wants to flip out because the flight controller says roll left and the quad doesn't roll left and it gets real confused and it'll fly to the moon or it'll flip out. What you need to do, and then it detects that and it shuts itself down, and that's why it won't fly. So you need to check the flight controller alignment is correct by tilting the quadcopter with your hands and look in the setup tab that it tilts the right direction. And you need to check that your motor directions are correct. Those are the main things that you would want to check. Dion Potigator. What's a ZAR? I think it's South African Rand. Yes. Oh, I'm learning my currencies. Thank you for 70 South African Rand. Will lower KV motors or lower pitch props on 4S give a longer flight time? Yes, absolutely. It'll also make less thrust though. So that's like asking, you know, if I just go easier on the throttle, will I get longer flight time? The answer is yes. Because you'll draw less current. You won't necessarily be more efficient in terms of grams per watt, but you will get longer flight time. Max VFPV, thank you for $10 in the super chat. My video feed drops out to static after a few seconds of flying. I've switched goggles, antennas, GoPro, Wi-Fi, band channel, and still can't find a fix. Is it overheating? It could be overheating, but usually while flying, the video transmitter won't overheat because it will have airflow from the props. Nevertheless, I would swap the video transmitter, check the antenna. I definitely feel like you've narrowed it down to the video transmitter. Jordan Saylor, thanks for $5. I want to ask about soldering irons. Is a cheap, non-adjustable Weller good enough, or should I just buck up and get the TS100? I mean, Weller makes good irons, but any fixed output iron is not good enough. You need a temperature-controlled iron. And the difference is a fixed output iron is going to just push 60 watts into the heating element and just hope that the temperature is right. But a temperature-controlled iron will have a temperature sensor in the tip and will turn the heating element on and off to maintain a consistent temperature. And that's what you need. So I would get the TS100 or any temperature-controlled iron, but not a non-adjustable iron. It's Darts. Thank you for $9.99. New to Crossfire Nano Tango 2 on the Hawk Pro plug and play. New Immortal L installed. I keep fail-safing between 600 and 800 meters. Oof. 600 to 800 meters. I mean, you should go further. Make sure that you're, I mean, even if you're on like 10 milliwatts, you should go further. Definitely update firmware. The other thing is make sure that you are on the right frequency. If you are in the UK, those are Norwegian kroner. If you are in an area that uses 868, that uses 915 megahertz for the cell towers, you need to be on 868 megahertz. If you're in an area that uses 868, you need to be on 915. I believe that Norway is in Europe and uses 915, so your Crossfire needs to be on 868. Although I'm not 100% sure of that. I'm sure that Norway is a part of Europe. Pretty sure. Because I'm not 100% sure, but probably, maybe you're on the wrong frequency. That's a guess anyway. Oh no, I'm sorry. That's It Starts giving $9.99 US. My bad. It Starts. You need to be on 915, not 868. Nikolai Moen. Thank you for 55 Norwegian kroner. Do you have an opinion on the TrueRC MX Air array and how it would compare to an Omni and Patch in short and longer ranges? Let's take a look at this product. The TrueRC MX Air array. So what we've got here is two MX Air antennas. And they're both pointing the same direction. So what's the point? What's the point of having two antennas pointing the same direction? I guess I'm a little confused about this product, because normally what you would do with this kind of setup is you would angle the antennas like at a 30-degree angle to each other to spread the coverage. Or you would have like a vertical polarized and a horizontal polarized or something. I must be missing something, because this looks to me like two of the same antenna pointed the same direction. Maybe it's it says is it a left hand and a right hand? Like TrueRC knows what they're doing. So I don't think they did. I know you pick polarization. I'm kind of confused by this. Having two of the same antenna pointing the same direction doesn't really buy you anything, because the same signal that's strong on this antenna is also going to be strong on this antenna. If you look at what's the other one? The RF, the Shield. From ORT. That's the company. The ORT Shield. The ORT Shield has two patch antennas, and they are angled at like a 30-degree angle. So you spread that coverage out a little bit. I'm a little confused by this. I don't know what the deal is. But TrueRC, I mean, TrueRC knows what they're doing, so I must be missing something. But I'm not sure what the point of that is. James Bright, thank you for $5. Dave Elrich says it's similar to the ORT. Yeah, but it doesn't look to me like they're angled at all. It looks like they're both pointing straight ahead, so I don't see a purpose. It seems like it's just redundancy for no purpose. But that's probably me missing something, because TrueRC knows what they're doing, so I must be missing something. There you go. James Bright, thank you for $5 in the super chat. I brought brand new SkyZone Skyo 2X, and I'm seeing double. Damn it. Would inserts correct this? That's tough. I'm farsighted, not nearsighted. James Bright, what I probably would do is reach out to a company that makes the optics and ask them if they think people have had good results with being farsighted and so forth. Seeing double, I'm not sure that that's going to be corrected by lenses, though. If you can't resolve the image, I mean, adjust the interpupillary distance for sure, but some people just can't seem to resolve the two separate screens into one image. There's something about your eyes, your face, or your brain, I don't know. And I couldn't promise you that getting inserts would correct it. Eric Toft, thank you for $10. I followed your guide for Betaflight 4.2 upgrade to 4.0. I found my motor RPM gets faster at idle than when I started. Should I worry? What might I need to adjust? Well, the number one thing to adjust, Eric, would be the motor idle percent. I assume that you kept that the same. At that point, I would just try to fly it and see if you like how it flies. There may be some small differences, especially if you set up dynamic idle. Your motor idle may be higher. But that wasn't part of my upgrade video, so I'm not sure why. I'm not sure that you would have enabled that. Make sure your idle percent is the same, and then it should be about the same. The other thing is, if you have air mode enabled, they may speed up. I would just try to fly it and see if you notice a difference. Damien Carl Saliba, thank you for €5. Huge Malta fan. Okay. Is that a soccer thing? I need firmware for my CC3D. Oh. To change from open pilot to beta flight. No. Yeah, and then he asks, is there a way I can email me? So, Damien, you can email me. That doesn't cost you anything. I clear my emails out about twice a day, most days. But there is nothing really. CC3D has an F1 processor on it, and most, if not all... Does CleanFlight still support F1s? I'm not sure. Basically, that thing is... It's done. It's done. It's so old, it's... Nobody, I would just get rid of it, or keep running Open Pilot. But I don't know what the deal is with Open Pilot. I know Malta is a country. I know Malta's a country. Thank you. I mean, I just was a little bit uncertain about whether Norway was a part of Europe, but I do know that Malta's a country. But why would you say you're a huge Malta fan? Like, just do you love the country Malta? No, usually when someone says they're a huge fan, they mean sports. And usually when you're not in the United States and you say the name of a country and say you're a fan, it's a soccer thing. That's my guess, you know. Oh, he's a huge fan from Malta. Oh, that makes sense. I see. That makes sense. That makes more sense. He's a huge fan of me. That hadn't even occurred to me that he would be a fan of me. I apologize. That's my enormous ego. Not. Somebody's suggesting he try Libre Pilot on the CC3D Atom. Give it a go. No way. JLo Man, Norway is a part of Europe, but not a part of the EU? Really? See? That's why I was uncertain. Those Scandinavian companies up there, or countries up there, are they European? Arctic Ice Drone, thanks for 55 Norwegian kroner. Can I add a beeper to a Newbie Drone Infinity stack? I don't see why not. It has a beeper output, right? I mean, if it has a beeper output, then you can add a beeper. Let's look. Here's the Infinity 30 stack. We just got to look at it and see if we can find a beeper pad. Except they don't have a flippin' pinout on their website. Oh, what is the pinout of the flight controller? I don't know. Oh, here's the ESC. Thank you. Yes, I know what an ESC looks like. Well, where's the pinout? No, you can't know the pinout. Newbie Drone. Oh, okay, there. Oh, there it is. There's the pinout for the ESC. Good. So you do understand that pinouts are a thing. Where's the pinout for the flight controller? Oh, nowhere. Drives me crazy. Newbie Drone, what are you doing? What are you doing, Newbie Drone? Oh, no. Nope. Why would... Newbie Drone. Why would that not be in your product shots? So now I got to go to Google Images. Oh, look, this is a thing. See, the pinout does exist. It's just not on the product page for the product. I'm going to complain about it here, and somewhere someone from Newbie Drone is going to find out and fix it. This is how I get things done. I could just email them and be like, hey, you might want to add that image to your... Oh, okay, but now... Oh, now... Oh, can I see a full-size image? No. Oh, yay! That was way too painful. Okay. Buzzer. We're looking for a buzzer. I don't see a buzzer output. I don't see a buzzer output. Is there one on the underside? That's the other thing. I think there might be one on the underside. They have. Yeah, there we go. Bingo. There's your buzzer pads. Arctic Ice Drone, thank you for your 55 kroner. There's your buzzer pads. That's where you need to solder the buzzer. You're welcome. Eric Buff, thank you for $10 in the super chat. I have Attitude V5s. Would it be worth upgrading to the HDO? It's a tough one, Eric. I feel, I mean, the HDO has a stand. Do you mean the HDO or the HDO2? $100 upgrade from the Attitude to the HDO? Yeah, I would do that. The screen image quality is going to be similar because they're both OLED screens, but the HDO2, the HDO is going to have an actual 4:3 display, whereas the Attitudes chop the top and bottom of the display off, which drives me crazy. But I just want to be able to answer the question, TR. Pin out, PCB pictures. I just want to know the answer to my question. That's all. That's all I want to know. Thomas, oh, I'm almost caught up on super chats. Thomas Winningham, thank you for $10 in the super chat. XT30 650 mAh into Armatan Gecko with XT60 via adapter. Bad idea? I think I see some voltage sag. I doubt the adapter is doing much in terms of sag. I doubt it. I mean, the sag is probably just coming from the battery. But if you may consider changing the battery out to an XT60. I don't know. I doubt the adapter's really hurting you much, to be honest with you. Okay. Yay, I'm caught up on the super chat. See, that didn't take too long. Ty in the Discord asks, other FreeSky receiver options. I've only run RXSR with F-port. Thinking about XM Plus or XM Jumper, I would just keep running the RXSR, man. The RXSR is a great receiver. I mean, FreeSky makes good hardware. Their choices about their firmware ecosystem are kind of frustrating, but it sounds like you've got that figured out. RXSR with F-port is a fantastic choice. Keep doing it. I would just keep doing it. Kieran says that CleanFlight still has CC3D as an option. So Damian Carl Saliba from Malta, you may want to try installing CleanFlight on your CC3D. However, I remember vaguely that there was a problem with the OpenPilot bootloader getting in the way of being able to flash CleanFlight, and you had to do some special trick to flash it and get rid of the OpenPilot bootloader, and I don't know. I don't remember those hoops anymore because it's been years. So all right, let's get back to the plebs in the YouTube chat. Sorry, plebs, but when people give me super chats, I'm obligated to read them. Is there a way to buy just the LiPo bag that comes with the QuadGuard BPX3, asks Mr. FPV. I don't think so. When I first got my Torval bag, I wanted to get the LiPo bag that came with the QuadGuard, and I couldn't find it for sale separately. You can buy the Torval bag separately, and I think it's pretty decent. So, now. Go away, go away, go away. So this is the Torval LiPo pouch. When I first reviewed it, I complained about the zippers, that it didn't zip open from the front, but it's a double zipper, so you can just leave the double zipper in the front and it's fine. It's a pretty decent little bag, and that's what I would get. I don't know where you can get the bag from it's really hard to get spare parts from Lowepro. Like, I needed some of the straps. I needed replacement straps, and I could not get them. You can't buy them. You have to just beg their customer service for them. And then if you can't, that doesn't work, you're screwed. So. Fosa FPV has a problem with turning smooth in acro mode. Do you have any tips? Fosa, this is just a matter of stick time, to be honest with you. You just have to practice learning how to coordinate roll and yaw together to get a smooth turn. Simulator time will help if you don't want to practice it or can't practice in real life. It just is a matter of muscle memory and stick time, and eventually you get it. All right? That's the answer. Bastian Sonderman asks, what's the difference between BBL and BFL logs? I know why you're asking that question too, Bastian. The BFL logs come from flight controllers with an SD card reader. The BBL logs come from flight controllers with a data flash chip. And the difference is that the BBL logs, the way it works when you have a data flash chip is you get one log per flight and then one file with multiple flights per log in it. Whereas the SD card ones are always one flight per log. And I don't know about other internal differences in the format of the file, but that's the gist of it. BBL comes from data flash chips. BFL comes from SD card readers. Let's see here. Trying to get smooth turns. Mad Max FPV recommends deadband on yaw and a little expo. That's a good point, Mad Max. Going back to the question from... what was the guy's name? I'm going to blank. I can't find his name. Going back to the question about smooth turning, lower your rates, and that will help you get a little smoother. And you might try like Betaflight's cinematic preset, Betaflight 4.2. The cinematic preset may help you get a little bit smoother. But at the end of the day, it's muscle memory and practice. I get it. The other thing you could do is, once you get past just being a total noob, and like, once you start to get past being a total noob, practice flying while moving the sticks as little as possible. Because at the beginning, like, you don't even know what to do with the sticks, and you just, every turn looks like this, like a bunch of little micro corrections or maybe macro corrections. Eventually, you can make the quad turn smoothly, but then you gotta think ahead for where the quad is going and plan ahead, and that's when you really start to get smoother. If you look at pilots like Drib, who are just ultra smooth on the sticks, that's not just the physical act of moving the sticks and your fingers. That's the mental act of knowing where you're going to want the quad to go and not having to make last-minute corrections or making corrections as smoothly as possible. So once you get the physical aspect down, you got to work on the mental aspect. Rishav Shukla wants to know my thoughts about the TOA turbine motor. So this is a new motor from Riot Drone. And they call it the turbine motor because it has fins that literally are supposed to push air down through the motor. They got one test they did where they showed the motor alone making 10 grams of thrust without a prop on it. That's kind of cool. They also have a smoke test that they did where they show smoke being sucked down through the motor. Here's the thing. This motor is, and by the way, I should say, they're sending me a quad, a race quad. I said, will you send me a set of these motors? I'll put them on a freestyle quad and fly them. And they said, well, they're racing motors more than, I was like, okay. They were like, do you want us to just send you a quad? I was like, oh, okay. So they're sending me a quad, and I'll be flying these and trying them out. But, I mean, they're $32. That's like, I think that's the most expensive 2306 I can think of. I know it's the most expensive 2306 I can think of. It may be the most expensive 2306. Yeah. So it's very, very interesting to think about this motor. This is a very high quality motor. Korea has always made extremely high quality motors. There's no doubt about that. I'm very curious as to whether this whole, like, how much cooler does it stay? How much does it matter? Like, if it stays a few degrees cooler, well, that only really matters. I mean, does it matter? Unless you're, like, right about to smoke your motor in the first place. $23 is a lot to ask for a motor, but it's a very good motor. I just can't decide how much this whole turbine thing. By the way, it's also patented. This turbine design is apparently patented in China. Patented in China. Wow. Because they were tired of people stealing, quote unquote, allegedly stealing their designs. I don't know. I think a lot of people aren't going to be willing to pay $30. Because at the end of the day, you're going to break, no matter how good the motor is, you're going to break it. You're going to break it. So, it's very interesting. It's nice to see a career in making new stuff. Thank you, Dion Potijiter, for 35 more South African rand. Do you also eat the ice? I do not eat ice. I don't know why you care, but I don't. I'm worried about breaking my teeth. Best beginner quad with DJI Air Unit and Crossfire. Bind and fly. Robert O'Donnell. Well, do iFlights come with Crossfire pre-installed? Like, if we look up the iFlight DC5, does it come with Crossfire? I'm not saying it's the best. When you say you want Crossfire pre-installed, that really starts to limit. Not the DC5, that's the frame receiver option. So you can get the iFlight X DJI Titan DC5. You can get this with Crossfire pre-installed. There are relatively few bind and flies that come with Crossfire pre-installed, though. Usually, to get Crossfire pre-installed, you end up going with a bespoke builder. The two bespoke builders that I'm big fans of are, of course, Riot, my own crew. Riot will build you any of their freestyle quads, and they actually, Riot didn't used to carry Crossfire part, but they currently do, and I imagine they would build you one with a Crossfire receiver on it. The other one that comes to mind is Catalyst Machine Works. They'll build you. Catalyst Machine Works is more racing stuff, but they do have some freestyle offerings, and they'll put Crossfire on it for sure. Arcadius Klimicek, I think. I'm sorry, I have trouble with Polish names. Thank you for 25. PLN. PLN, what is the Polish currency? What is the Polish currency? Zloty? I always like to be respectful of other people. Zloty. I'm probably mispronouncing that too. Thank you for 25 Zloty. Thanks a lot. Your channel helped me a lot to start flying. Thomas Winningham. I already got yours. We're caught up on Super Chats. Yeah, multiple people in the comments are pointing out that those TOA motors, because they're directional, the bells are directional because they push the air, right? Because the motors are directional, you have to have both left and right-handed spares. And so you have to have twice the number of spares. Yep. Shiphawk in the Discord asks, 16 meg of flash memory on the Diatone Mamba F7 Mini does not show in beta flight. Usually that means you flashed the wrong target. That's usually what it means. You flash the incorrect target, and the target is close enough that it like appears like it's working, but it's missing the black box definition. So I would double check that target, Shiphawk. K Lols, thank you for 10 Canadian dollars. I'm the race director for my club, and we're getting complete washouts on race 7 and race 8 whenever someone uses the DJI goggles. What DJI channels do you recommend for racing with analog? Well, it's funny you ask that. I want to show you my favorite frequency chart from 507RC. 507 is... he has a YouTube. I should probably show his YouTube channel too. Here he is. This is the guy. Now, I don't think we need a... You can go watch this video if you want to hear somebody talk about frequencies for 6 minutes, but I think a lot of people are just going to... Especially if you're the race director, this is all you need. Here is the way the frequencies overlap between DJI and... can I zoom in here? Can I zoom in? No. Why would I be able to zoom in? There we go. It's so annoying when websites break the way my flippin' internet works. Like, it's the web. I want to be able to zoom in. I want to be able to right click. All right, I'll stop complaining. So the way the DJI system works is when the goggles first power up, they power up on channel 8. And you can see that that overlaps primarily with race band 6. So if you have DJI guys and analog guys together, the analog guys can never be on channel race 6 or any of the equivalent, but I assume you're using race band mostly. But this whole swath here right around 5839, just don't use it, because every time the goggles power up, they go to channel 8 first, okay? Then after they find each other, they find their air unit, they move to one of the other channels, okay? Now, I don't know why 6 and 7 are getting trashed. The other thing that you have to keep in mind is that the DJI goggles always transmit. So DJI pilots always need to be 10 or 20 feet at least away from analog pilots and from each other. And this is the biggest challenge, I think, as a race director, because what we're used to doing is having all the pilots just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in a line. But with DJI, every single pilot has to be 10 or 15 or maybe 20 feet away from every other pilot. So you need a much bigger line. You can't even take all the DJI pilots and just move them over here. They have to be separated from each other too. So I don't know why 6 and 7 are getting washed out. I'm going to guess that you have the analog pilots too close to the DJI pilots, and when someone comes up in the public channel, channel 8, which overlaps with race 6, you're just so close that they're also blasting race 7 and 8. That's my guess. But what you got to do is separate the DJI pilots from the analog pilots and from each other. CSMIC Fool in the Discord says DJI is helping us keep up with social distancing. That is hilarious. Analog pilots all clustered together, getting the coronavirus. DJI pilots all spread apart, social distancing. And also, just you take one look at a DJI pilot with all, and you're like, ooh, get away from me. DJI Pop says, does it still transmit even when you don't use the DJI radio? Yes, absolutely, DJ Pop. The DJI radio is completely separate. Yes, they both bind to the goggles, but the DJI radio is its own transmission. The reason the DJI controller is its own transmission. The reason the goggles transmit is that it is a two-way link with retransmissions. So if the link gets weak and a data frame is lost, the goggles request the retransmission of the frame. In addition, the goggles are controlling the air unit. They're sending, like, you know, the menu options and so forth. So it is the question, I think the implied question is, when you use the DJI controller, does the controller talk to the goggles, talk to the air unit? No, the controller, it binds to the air unit, and the controller can be used with the air unit without the goggles at all. Dr. Cheese asks, yeah, it's CSMIC Full, exactly. It's TCP versus UDP. It's a reliable protocol in the networking sense, like TCP with retransmissions. By the way, that's why when you use audience mode, you get worse video quality, because the audience goggles don't request retransmissions. They can't. Dr. Cheese says, so is it a good practice for DJI guys to stay higher frequency and analog lower, since DJI always starts with 8? It kind of doesn't matter, but that's a good thought. Like, give channels race 6, 7, and 8 to the DJI guys. And that basically gets you 2 DJI pilots. You could use 3. The DJI system won't want to stay on channel 8, though. It'll want to move off of channel 8 and get out of the public channel. So a way you could do it is say analog pilots only use race 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. DJI pilots use channel 6, 7, 8. That is a way you could do it. Dominic Clifton's in the chat. Dominic Clifton. Dominic Clifton, I have a interesting I have an interesting idea that I want to ask you about someday. Because Dominic Clifton has one of the few flight controllers that can support like 12 motors. And there's a project coming up that may need that. Dominic, your SP Racing H7, I think it has 12 D-Shot outputs, but only with the daughter board. Do you have a single flight controller that can do like 12 or 8 outputs? 16 on the SP Racing F3. Yeah, but nobody uses F3 anymore. Come on. Nicholas Barkley asks, how do people fly around buildings and all that? I cut out completely as soon as I round the corner. That's a tough question to answer, Nicholas. Because it's hard to know what's different about your setup and situation versus somebody else's. To get maximum range, you want maximum output power. So you're going to want to use a video transmitter with 600, 800 milliwatts, maybe 1 watt. You want a good antenna. I think the antenna makes more difference than you might think, because if you have a crappy antenna, like a really crappy antenna, it's going to really hurt your range. But I would also say the antenna doesn't make as much difference as some people think, because some people are like, oh yes, if you have a good enough antenna, that makes all the difference. Well, look, if you're only at 200 milliwatts, no matter how good your antenna is, you're not, I mean, 800 milliwatts into a crappy antenna will probably beat 200 milliwatts into the best antenna in the world. Depends on how crappy the antenna is. So, no D-Shot, though. 16 on the SP Racing F3 with no D-Shot. Yeah. I was trying to think of flight controllers that have lots of D-Shot outputs. Dominic came to mind. So how do you fly around buildings? High output power, good antennas, great receiver module. A Rapid Fire or a TBS Fusion are the two best analog modules in my opinion, based on my testing. And then the final one is the ability to use the force to fly through static, which is more than you would think. But that is a thing that pros work on and get good at. But the other thing is that, like, I'll give you one more. Figure out where to stand. So, like, when I looked at this, $12 million mansion fly-through that Mr. Steele posted to his channel recently, and the whole time he's flying around this house, and I'm thinking, where is he standing? Because if you're standing in the wrong place and you fly all the way to the other end of the house, you'll lose video. When you think about your flight path, you also think, where am I going to stand that I can have line of sight to this whole flight path, or as much as I can? Hansa Bartonicek, how do you fly around buildings in countries where the max output power is 25 milliwatts? The true answer, Hansa, 25 milliwatts just won't get you very much range or penetration. The true answer is that I think that those guys are just using higher output power in violation of the law. That's the truth. Piet Kleinfen says, a toothpick is going crazy and flips over, but motors spin correctly and props are correctly installed. What could it be? It's a new build. Piet, if a lot of times people say the motors are spinning the right direction and it turns out they're not. But let's take you at your word that you've double checked it. The other thing it could be is the board alignment is incorrect. The flight controller is not facing forward. I'm going to leave a little teaser here. Who knows what this is? Going back to the question about the flight controller with multiple outputs. Who knows what this is? We'll monitor the chat to see who gets it right. Copper Top, thank you for $10 in the super chat, Copper Top. I'll monitor the chat to see who knows what this is. Scarecrow knows what it is. Hello, Scarecrow. Scarecrow, you should be a moderator. You should be a moderator. Boom, you're a moderator. Don't give the answer away, Scarecrow. Thank you, Copper Top, for $10 in the super chat. Mamba F405 DJI and RXSR cannot get SmartPort to work on a free UART TX. The answer there, Copper Top, is that the UART needs to have a bidirectional inverter. It's a piece of hardware. You can't, on an F4, the inversion option in the CLI doesn't turn the inverter on or off. The inverter is a piece of hardware that either was or was not installed by the manufacturer. And so SmartPort isn't going to work if the manufacturer didn't give you a pad with a bidirectional inverter. Copper Top, what I would do is use soft serial and put SmartPort on soft serial. You'll need to do some remapping. But I would remap an unused pad like the LED strip pad to soft serial and put SmartPort on that. You're not going to get it working on a hardware UART of an F4 flight controller because the manufacturer didn't give you the inverter. Flying Sandal says you could get an external inverter. That is true. Many people have forgotten. You could just buy a little inverter chip and use it. Most people want it to be installed on the flight controller, though. Copper Top, I have a video that talks about, this is to me the smartest way to do it. Now, this is the Maytech F405, but oh, hello, Joshua. This is the Maytech F405, but this will work on other flight controllers, and it shows the method. That's true. That's a very good point. K-Lols, if you have an RXSR, it does have an inverted output. So the FreeSky RXSR, let's find a picture here. Right here. So, Copper Top, if you use this P pad, this one can go to a UART TX pad, and then you will need to go into the CLI and do set TLM inverted equals on to tell the flight controller that you have inverted the signal. If you solder to this little pad, then it will work. Copper Top, if that's good enough, great. I know you're a smart guy. That may be good enough, all you need. If you want additional help, Copper Top, just message me and I will walk you through it. Oliver Merritt, thanks for £9.99. Hi, Joshua. I have a problem with the UARTs on my Tiny Hawk 2 Freestyle. Whenever I try to set up my video transmitter UART, it just deletes all my UARTs and doesn't save. Ouch. Oliver Merritt, the two things can cause that. The most likely one is that you have an old version of the configurator. So update your Betaflight configurator to the latest version 10.7. If you have an old configurator version, it can corrupt your config. The other thing you can do, that may be that there's something conflicting. Like if you try to turn on SmartPort and Serial RX on the same UART, it'll say no and it'll wipe that out. Edward Robinson, thanks for $5. Do you have a simple explanation on how to tune out prop wash on a micro Cinewhoop like the GEP-RC rocket? That's tough, man. I really feel like we should turn to the micro experts like Kebab and Nick Burns But you gave me the super chat, so I'm going to do my best to give you the answer. The first thing to getting rid of prop wash is to minimize the latency of the PID loop, because prop wash happens so quickly that the PID loop needs to be able to respond very quickly. Otherwise, it's just kind of always behind the curve. You know how, like, I can't think of a good example. It's just always behind the curve if it can't respond quickly. So you want to turn your filtering down as little as possible while still keeping smooth motors, cool motors, and no signs of like flyaway. So we want to move those filter sliders to the right. We want to have RPM filtering enabled and move the filter sliders in Betaflight to the right as far as you can get, as much as to 2.0 without getting signs of hot motors or anything. And immediately prop wash handling will usually get much, much better. After that, I think the next thing to do is raise D-gain, although at a certain point excess D-gain will make problems. And then the final thing is to fly out of the prop wash. Don't put the quad in situations where prop wash is very, very likely. When you see very smooth pilots, it's got a lot to do with what they're doing with the quad, not necessarily with what the tune is doing. CSMIC Fool says, do you find you can't move the filter sliders as far to the right with a 3-inch or smaller? I do think there's some truth to that. But the other thing to keep in mind, it's weird because with smaller quads, the vibration is higher frequency. So in a sense, it's easier to filter because the RPM is higher. But on the other hand, they can be more sensitive to being off balance for reasons that I don't entirely understand. But it's higher frequency and lower magnitude. So you would think you would have less problems with filtering, but it's not necessarily the case. Is motor spool up on landing a sign of a flyaway? Asks Sylvan Light. If you are close to getting a flyaway, then overreaction to the quad being tapped could be a sign that you need more filtering. Yeah, I agree with that. Let's see. Got more super chats coming in. Zero Mode. Thank you for 5 CHF. Is that what kind of... remind me what a CHF is. What's a CHF? Swiss francs. That's what I thought. Thank you for 5 Swiss francs. Zero Mode. I'd like to upgrade from Betaflight 3.8 to 4.2. What do I have to consider? Honestly, man, I would start from scratch. I wouldn't copy your configuration over. I would probably just start from scratch. 3.8? Wait a minute. 3.8 isn't a thing. There's no Betaflight 3.8. There's 3.5.7. Okay. I would probably just start the build from scratch. You could copy over like your ports tab. You could copy over some of your your OSD setup and your ports tab. But as far as PIDs, I would start from scratch. No Signal, thank you for €5. Any idea how to get amps on my FetTech Kiss FC with the F55A Pro 2? The F55A ESC has only analog output, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it has analog output. So the question is, does the FetTech, does it have an analog current input? Surely it does, right? I mean, I would think it would. Well, as always, I go to the pinout and I look for the pinout of the circuit diagram, and there's no great picture. Okay, I can kind of read this one. Where is there a current input pad? That's the answer. That's what we want to know. No, not on this one. I mean, I'm just going to look it over and look for a current input. I don't see it. Well, folks in the chat who know more about KISS than me, does the KISS, I mean, that's the 20 by 20. Where's the 30 by 30? Does the KISS FC have, it's probably on the JST, is it in the plug? I can't read the. Yeah, you're right. It's probably in the plug that comes from the ESC. It's got to have it, right? Product pages should always have a damn pinout diagram. They should always have a damn pinout diagram. It is not a new antenna shape. Some people still trying to guess what this is. No one's gotten it yet. No one. You'll find out. You'll find out eventually. The current input has to be on this plug. I'm going to try just for 2 more seconds to find a pinout diagram. And then I'm going to move on. Not here. No. ESC telemetry only. Oh my God. See, this is what drives me crazy about KISS. They only do it their way and no other way. Which, okay, I guess I can't fault them for that. They only support ESC telemetry or their own one-wire telemetry. Oh, you guys can't see this. Hold on. There we go. So this is the way that KISS does it is the ESC reports current data over their own telemetry protocol. It doesn't appear to have an analog current sensor input because KISS doesn't use that. So you should never try to mix and match KISS flight controller with non-KISS ESC, because you end up in a situation like this where it just doesn't do the thing you want it to do. So I think you're out of luck. Okay. Medi Jaster, one of my motors won't spin if I don't start it with my finger. The ESC or motor is broken, my friend. Where are we at? I'm so far behind on Super Chats. Thank you guys for your generosity. I apologize to the folks over in the regular chat, but I'm kind of obligated to keep up with the Super Chats, so I will get back there when I can. Here we go. Tark61, thanks for $2. What do you think about the Z's flight stack? I'm intrigued by it. It has interesting design. Very interesting design. I'm not a big fan of direct soldering receiver and VTX to the flight controller, because unless you have a hot air station, it's very difficult to desolder them when you need to replace something. So I personally don't like to build this way, but other people do, and it's pretty freaking clever. You can direct solder a Unified Nano and a Crossfire receiver right to the flight controller and have a really compact build. It's very clever. Oh, look, a wiring diagram. How about that? Okay, best flight controller ever. Called it. Oh, this is a Philip Seidel diagram. He's awesome, too. Okay, moving on. Vendetta Hobbies, thanks for $8 in the super chat. What's the best antenna upgrade for a transmitter? I have a Jumper T16. I'm looking for a bit better range out of it. Crossfire. Don't waste time like putting a 5 dB antenna on it. It's not going to get that much better. Either get an amplifier. I don't actually recommend you get a 2.4 gig amplifier. I don't like that as a solution for reasons that it just rubs me the wrong way. But if you really want more range, just bite the bullet and go Crossfire. You're going to put a 5 dB antenna on your 2.4 gig radio and you're going to get like a little bit more range. Oh, I know. 5 dB is more. It's 3 dB extra. You're not going to get that much more range out of it. Just bite the bullet, go Crossfire, and never think about it again. Daniel Carroll, thank you for $5 in the super chat. How important is weight when comparing different builds? I want something snappy, but the builds with all the HD stuff are heavy. Weight definitely matters more than racers know. Freestyle pilots think weight doesn't matter, but it does. Weight makes quads fly better. Lighter quads fly way better. Save weight when you can. 800 gram freestyle quad flies like a dog. my opinion. So you gotta just find ways to make trade-offs to save weight is the thing. And yeah, HD builds are heavier, but you maybe can find ways still to save weight. Weight matters. No Signal, thank you for €5. How do I get amps on my fellow? I got that one. Zero Mode, thank you for 5 Swiss francs. Got that one. Gilles FPV, thank you for €5. Does the QX7 require the Crossfire mod? So here's the deal, Gilles. If you don't do the inverter mod on the QX7, then you will not be able to get telemetry. And your Lua scripts won't work. If you have the full-size Crossfire module, you don't need Lua scripts, but telemetry still won't work. So personally, I would still do the mod, but that's your call. Riding Durance, thank you for $5, because I like telemetry. Thank you for $5, Riding Durance. Crossfire multi-bind. What's the best sequence if you have 4 or 5 quads bound to a full Crossfire module and want to add in a Tango 2? Riding Durance, I haven't explored Crossfire multi-bind at all, so I appreciate your donation, but I cannot help you with that question. I don't know the answer. Martian McFly, thank you for £3. Eric Allen, thank you for $5. Quad fine one day. Next eye, Crossfire Nano Light is red. No connection, can't bind. Any suggestions? Here is, I mean, I don't know why it happened, but Crossfire has a sequence. I always go back to this webpage, Kamikaze FPV. This is the webpage for you, Steve 3P. No. Who is this? Eric Allen. Eric Allen, here you go, my friend. This is the, that's what I would do if I were you. The real answer to the question is this is a collapsed dodecahedron. But more than that, I wonder if anyone, I think not. I think no one's going to get the actual reference. That's okay. That's why it's a teaser. It's a teaser. I'm teasing. I'm not going to tell you. Durzo FPV, thank you for $5 in the super chat. Updated my transmitter firmware with OpenTX 239. Now my radio is telling me check external antenna. Updating the firmware version shouldn't cause that, man. If you're suspicious, go back to the old firmware version, but it's probably your antenna just happened to get messed up at the same time you did the upgrade. But flash back to 238 or whatever and see if that happens. See if it goes away. Is it Black Turbine? Thank you for $25, 25 HRK. I'm going to decline to answer your question because of the nature of the question. Doesn't seem responsible to answer it. So I'm going to pass on that one. Steve 3PO FPV, thank you for $5 in the super chat. Crossfire keeps connecting and disconnecting after 30 packs with no issues. Steve 3PO, I mean, it's got to be your receiver, right? Try a different receiver. That's what I would say. Something got effed up in your receiver would be my first guess. Damon42 says the older firmware didn't have the warning. I mean, the warning is based on hardware in the radio, though. The antenna probably has issues. Unfortunately, on a FreeSky radio, when you get the antenna warning, usually it's too late and you have already fried your radio board. Sadly. Atlantic Dragon, thank you for 2 SGD. What's an SGD? That's a new one for me. Singapore dollars. Been to Singapore. A long, long time ago I visited Singapore. Thank you for $2 SGD Singapore dollars. What's your opinion on the T-Motor FT5 frame? I have discussed this on previous live streams. Just real quick. The T-Motor FT5 frame, it has the cool feature of the FT5 frame is that it's got this removable, we're going to find a picture of it. There we go. It's got this removable panel that pops out to let you maintain the quad. That's clever, but I keep suspecting that it's going to compromise the strength of the frame. And until I hear from people who are crashing it in the field to learn about durability, I want to know more. The other problem that was pointed out on a previous live stream is that that the battery, if you put a battery strap around the middle, the battery is only held on by these two screws, which kind of seems like it might be a big deal. That's what we're trying to figure out. All right, we're caught up on super chats. Yay! Whew, lots of super chats this time. How are we doing in the super? How much? Yeah, it's pretty good chat revenue. HZQ, very good question. HZQ, what affects flight feel more? Motor size, 2306 versus 2207, or KV, 1750 versus 1700 KV? HZQ, it is a little known fact that motors vary in KV by at least 25 or 50 KV, maybe as much as 100 KV, simply due to manufacturing variances. The actual strength of the magnets varies a little bit. You buy, whatever, N52 magnets, and they have a certain magnetic field strength. But when you build the motor, the actual magnetic strength is going to vary. The winds are pretty consistent because you just have wire and you wind the wire, and the winding tends to be pretty consistent. But if you buy 50 motors and they're all rated at 2400 kV, and you actually test the actual kV of the motors, you're going to find variances between them. Some are going to be 2450, some are going to be 2350, maybe as much as 100 kV. So most people, I think, are not going to notice a 50 or 100 kV of difference. If I were to take your 2400 kV quad and put 2350 kV motors on it, probably most, I mean, if you're Alex Vanover, okay, maybe. Most people are just going to like adjust to the throttle position and not notice that the quad's a little bit weaker. So I feel like you're more likely to notice like a difference in motor size than a small difference in KV. But I think a lot of people also wouldn't notice the difference between a 2306 and a 2207 of the same KV. But if I had to pick between those two, between a 20, excuse me, pardon me, how rude, between a 2306 and 2207 and a 50 kV difference, I would take the motor size. 4S or 6S on freestyle quads, asks Fosa FPV. Fosa, I went with 4S the last time I bought packs because 4S is just it's a little bit cheaper. You're a little bit less likely to pop your ESC. You're a little bit less likely to have tuning issues like jello, mid-throttle oscillation, and all those things to get. And the performance advantage of 6S, while there, is small. It's a 10 or 15%. If you have to sum it up in a percent, it's a small difference. So I went with 4S. 6S has advantages, but to me, the disadvantages were not worth the trade-off. Let's see here. I feel like I've been neglecting the Discord. What radio am I using right now? Asks Starjumper. Starjumper, I'm still on the Jumper T16. I think I don't know if you saw on my 3 packs a day video from Friday, but I have put purple switch nuts on my Radio Master, and that should tell you something. When I start personalizing a radio, but I haven't switched over to the Radio Master because I'm not yet ready. I still have some videos I want to shoot with the Radio Master before I put the Crossfire firmware on it, the Crossfire Shot firmware. Crossfire Shot is based on an older version of OpenTX, and I got a couple setup tutorial videos I want to do on the latest OpenTX. So I will be switching to the Radio Master soon, but for now I'm still on the Jumper T16. I'm looking back through the Discord. Let's see here. Oh, the Discord guys are just talking about a bunch of stuff. But, oh, Anders Martinson. Well, here's a question from Anders Martinson in the Discord. You always say that if you're a good builder, you can push the filter sliders all the way to the right, all the way to 2.0. What does this mean? Anders, it's hard to sum up what, like, a good builder means. The gist of it is that if the quadcopter doesn't have a lot of vibration, then you can afford to push the filter sliders all the way to the right. So what makes a quadcopter that doesn't have a lot of vibration? You'd think it would be simple, but there are various mistakes people make that make there be more vibration. Soft mounting the flight controller is an obvious one. Not having things touching or bumping up against the flight controller is another one. It's really hard to sum up. The gear you choose, if you're buying cheap, $8 motors with crappy bearings, you're going to tend to have a lot of noise. All I know is every quadcopter I build, the first thing I do is I push the filter sliders all the way to the right, and everything is fine. And we're all, I don't know what it is. So there you go. And I wish I could make a list of the kind of mistakes that beginners make that mean that they're, some of it is not just the build, because a lot of people, the very first time you fly the quad after making a new build, it would be fine. But after you crash it a few times, then you start to run into problems, and beginners ignore those problems. And pros are like, oh, I got to fix this. I'm running out of my drink. Dimsun says, I upgraded to 4.2 and I accidentally used diff all. What are the risks and which settings should I revert or adjust? Dimsun, I've got a video. About upgrading to Betaflight 4.1. It's the same for upgrading to 4.2. And it shows you which parts of the config are safe and which parts of the config you probably want to avoid. I would default it, though. I would take it back to defaults. Oh, that's a good look, Joshua. There we go. That's a better look. I would take it back to defaults and then redo the upload using the method in that video. Dion Potgater, thank you for 35 more South African Rand. Is it true you can mount the flight controller anywhere in the frame, or is it really best to mount it in the center? Dion, I would say you could probably mount it anywhere you want. And the reason for that is that a gyro data is not affected by position on the frame. So what the example I like to use is imagine something like this pen, and imagine it is rotating at a rate of 1 cycle per second. Okay, so it's rotating at a rate of 1 cycle per, no, it's not really 1 cycle per second. I'm just spinning it in my fingers, but you get the idea. What would a gyro sensor measure if it would, microphone's in the way. What would a gyro sensor measure if it was in the dead center of the pen? It would measure 360 degrees per second. Well, what would a gyro measure at the end of the pen? 360 degrees per second. Every part of the pen is rotating, is making a complete rotation, 360 degrees per second. And on a rigid body, every part of the body rotates at the same rate. Now imagine that we held the end of the pen stationary and we rotated the other end of the pen at 360 degrees per second. What would happen? The pen would spiral up on itself, right? So if you assume a flexible body, then different parts of the body can rotate at different rates. The average rotation will eventually be the same, but on a quadcopter, it's essentially rigid, and so it doesn't matter where you mount the flight controller, the gyro is going to read the same. Now, here's why that's both true and not true. On a quadcopter frame, different parts of the frame can be more or less subject to vibration because there can be resonance at various locations on the frame. Let me see if I can find this good old quadcopter frame that has a great example of this. Here is the good old QAV250. And if we look at the QAV250, we've got this long bit sticking out here. Okay? This is long and unsupported. And I would bet that there are some weird resonances going on. So on this quadcopter frame, if you were to mount the flight controller way out here at the end of this long unsupported, could almost call it a cantilever, maybe. Well, then you might get vibration problems. Whereas mounting it in the center, sometimes maybe mounting it in the center has a resonance issue. I don't know. So there can be better or worse noise characteristics depending on where you mount it. But in general, quad will still fly just fine. Okay. Hansa Bart check. Thank you for 50 CZK. I'm about to get into FPV and I'm thinking of buying the TBS Tango 2 on Mr. Steele's advice. Any reason I shouldn't do that? Wow, that's a loaded question. The big disadvantage of the TBS Tango 2 today is that it only supports Crossfire. Now, Crossfire is amazing, but not everybody wants to commit to Crossfire right out of the gate. And there are some quads that Crossfire just doesn't work well with. Very, very small quads like Tiny Whoops, which are some of the ones that beginners often tend to focus on. A lot of times mounting a Crossfire receiver on them is a bit of a hassle. You can't buy them ready to bind to Crossfire right out of the gate. There are very strong rumors that a version of the Tango 2 is coming that will have a 4-in-1 module that will support 2.4 gigahertz and can bind to Tiny Whoops. If that were true today, I would have no hesitation recommending the Tango 2. I think for a beginner, it's a little bit much to ask someone just getting into the hobby to commit to Crossfire in the way that the Tango 2 currently asks you to do. Some people are prepared to make that commitment. Not everybody is. The Tango 2 is a great radio. The other thing about the Tango 2 is some people are not going to like the game controller form factor. It's very good. It's the best game controller ergonomics of any game controller style radio that I've used, but I still, after 45 minutes of playing simulator on it, now I am a pincher, not a thumber. If you're a thumber, it may work better for you. You specifically asked any reason I shouldn't do that, so I've focused on the reasons you shouldn't do that. It is a good radio, and it's not bad advice. Bear in mind, Steele flew the Free-Sky. He may still fly the Free-Sky Tyrannus. He flew it for a long time, and was happy with it. Daniel Carroll, thank you for $4. Which do you like better, the Rotorite HD1 or the Skyliner? I mean, if I had to pick, I'd probably pick the Skyliner. I fly the HD1 because they sponsored me an HD1 build to use on Rotorite episodes. But I don't actually own a Skyliner, but just between the two, I would probably pick the Skyliner as a better frame. I mean, the HD1 is like a $30 frame or whatever. The Skyliner is a $70 frame. They're just not the same. Starjumper asks, what's your take on TBS resolving to get to price parity with R9? I hadn't heard that, Starjumper, but if TBS did come down to the same price as R9, then I can't see any reason anyone would ever choose R9 ever again. Crossfire is just better. It's just better. even if you argue that Crossfire isn't better in terms of range, which I don't know, that may or may not be true. Like, you'd have to go out, 40, 50, 60 kilometers to really find out. Even if that's not true, Crossfire is better in terms of things like having the ability to have a consistent 150 hertz sampling rate, whereas R9's packet sampling is all over the place, which screws up the Betaflight feed forward and so forth. The easy firmware updates, no hassle with which firmware do I need? Is it EU? Is it Flex? Is it LCC? Is it OTA? Is it Access? Is it pre 2.1? Is it post 2.1? Is it... I mean, that's how I feel when I try to get R9 working. So Crossfire is just better. The only reason not to buy R9, the only reason to buy R9 over Crossfire is the price. If they got the price down, then I would just say R9 is dead. I hope they do it. Of course, if they get close, FreeSky will just lower the price. They'll cut their margin to nothing, or even sell it at a loss just to get it out there. That's what they'll do. So... Matthias Hector, thank you for $2 Canadian. Do you think the Transtech Frog is a good frame? I don't know. I want to be excited about frames, and I kind of don't. I'm kind of not. I'm jaded. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, sure. I mean, sure. How much is it? $30 for freaking aluminum side plates? Oh, sorry. Sure. Sure, why not? I don't know. Yeah, I could see it. Aluminum side plates on a $30 frame. That's actually kind of I'm kind of impressed. Josiah J wants to know if I've ever seen the paint come off blaster motors. Yeah, my Crossfire Immortal T has scraped the paint off some of my motors, my blaster motors. I mean, I don't think it really affects how they fly, but... Ty wants to know, any special hardware needed to fly 3D, or will any ESC work? Ty, any BL Heli ESC can be switched to 3D mode. You can even try to do it on your standard props. The props won't make very much thrust when they're inverted, but you probably will be able to hover inverted. You could totally do it. If you're curious about 3D, just take one of your freestyle quads. Even a micro. I did a video where I did 3D on like a Mobula 7. The micro props actually are kind of crappy enough to be good 3D props. But what I mean by that is, the more efficient a prop is, the more optimized it is to make thrust in the downward direction, kind of like the worse it'll be when you reverse it. But micro props, they're kind of already 3D props. They're kind of symmetrical anyway. So you could even take a micro, like a 75 millimeter, 85 millimeter micro, and set it up for 3D and try it out. You should totally try it out if you're curious about it. It's not that difficult to set up. Zoe has set up videos on how to get started in 3D. I would totally point you her direction. And it's so fun. Like, you may not decide that it's like for you and be a 3D on all your quads, but if you're at all curious about 3D, it's so easy. It's 20 minutes maybe to just change the settings on your ESCs and Betaflight, and then you're just ready to go and you can try it out. Or you could try it in the simulator, of course. James O'Donnell says, can someone hook me up with a Tango 2 website with in-stock radios? No one has stock of anything today, James. Coronavirus has just wrecked supply chains around the world. So stuff comes into stock and then they fulfill their back orders and then that's it. Today, if you really want some product, especially a really in-demand product like the Tango 2, pick your favorite vendor, put in a back order, and then just cross your fingers and wait. That's just what you got to do. By the time something is in stock, unless you're very, very lucky, it'll already be out of stock by the time you find out that it was in stock. People have already bought it. So if you really want a Tango 2, the thing to do is to go to TBS's website, because obviously they're going to get it first. They're going to fulfill their own orders before they fulfill retail orders, probably. I don't know, maybe. But I would just go to TBS's website, put your money down, and then just wait. Everything is still catching up. I mean, the thing is, stuff has always been out of stock in this hobby. Stuff has always been out of stock a lot. And now it's even worse. So if you want, people are saying, when are Crossfire Nanos going to be in stock? And I'm like, well, I bought some like 2 weeks ago on a live stream. People said, oh, they're in stock at this store. And I real quick went and bought them, you know, but now they're out of stock again. So stuff comes into stock and then it's gone. If you really want it, either just be on top of it or just put an order in and wait. Sorry, that's just how it is. Yeah, the shipping problem from China is also a big part. I know stores that are waiting for stock from vendors. The vendor has the stock, but getting the product from China to the United States is challenging. It's just everything is effed up now. Browse Around Tyke says, is an in-stock TBS Micro V1 still worth it today? Browse Around, the big difference with the TBS Micro V2 seems to be that the radio amplifier is capable of 500 milliwatts output. The obvious inference from that would be that eventually TBS will unlock the ability to do 500 milliwatts. That's something. That's not nothing. But if it's in stock today and it's a good price, I mean, the micro module is still really good. Gen X FPV thinks it's all BS to charge more for shipping. I don't think that's true, Gen X. What happened, my understanding of what happened is that a lot of cargo was carried on commercial flights. But now there are way, way, way fewer commercial flights because nobody wants to fly. Nobody's going on vacation. So there was a whole bunch of, like, DHL specifically seems to have been hit by this. There was a whole bunch of packages that there simply isn't a flight to put it on. The flights are full. And, yeah, that's my understanding. Sit and Fly. Dominic Clifton, I asked him about this on a previous live stream. He literally makes his flight controllers in his house. He has a pick and place and a wave soldering machine or something like that. He literally is his own manufacturing. So. Let's see here. Bad Habit RC, thank you for $5 in the super chat. I've got a GNB TX LiPo battery on my jumper. Do I have to unplug it when I'm done flying for the day to prevent battery drain from leaving the plug in? I don't unplug my battery from my jumper ever. I would just watch it. Like, leave it unplugged for 12 leave it plugged in for 12 hours and see if the voltage drops. But I don't have that problem, Bad Habit. Copper Top, what's the best 5-inch frame for DJI FPV? Good question, Copper Top. And thank you for the opportunity to plug my website, the ultimate FPV shopping list at fpvknowitall.com, where I have a section about DJI, including some recommended frames. These are not the only frames worth looking at. I just picked a couple that I think are good to try and narrow it down for you if you feel a little overwhelmed by choice. These are some to look at, though. A lot of people would say that the Apex is the best. A lot of people are big fans of the Apex. I got the Drib. I got the Drib Skyliner on here. It's a good one. Not the only good one, but a good one. Got that adjustable camera front end. Good old Rotor Riot HD1. Cheap. You know, have they adjusted the Source 1 or the Source 2, whichever, the Source 1? Have they adjusted the Source 1 yet to support? Surely they have. It's open source. I should get the Source 1 on here as well. What do you think of the new Carrera Talon frame? Asks Michael. Gives 59 Swedish kroner. Carrera is going to be sending me a build with the new Talon frame and their new motors. So when that gets here, you'll find out what I think. It's probably good. I've liked their frames in the past. Byron Hameline, thank you for $5 in the super chat. I really enjoy your Crossfire versus R9 rants. Oh, well, I'm glad you enjoy it. Carlos Fadi, thank you for $5 in the super chat. Is it possible to DM me on Instagram? No. Carlos, I'm so sorry, man. Email me. Email me. Do you have email? Surely you have email, right? Please email me. Instagram messaging is so bad. It's so bad. It's so bad. I know the kids use Instagram, and that's what they're all WhatsApping and Snapchatting and Instagramming with each other, and I feel so out of touch, but Instagram DMs are a total shit show. When you have hundreds of messages coming in, you cannot manage them. I can. So. So. Email me or message me on Facebook. I will be happy to talk to you. I cannot DM you. I'm not going to go through it again. I've talked about it before. The notifications are a mess. I will find your name. I will message you. You'll respond to me, and it will get buried in a pile of 100 other notifications. I will never know that you messaged me back. I can't do it. Can't do it. Okay. Mustang Horse, thank you for £5. What's the best price? What's the best place to start for a first-time PID tuner? Mark Spat, UAV Tech is his channel. UAV Tech on YouTube. That's where I would say. I mean, he goes super in depth, so I don't know if he's good for a first-time tuner. But like here, right here, when I search for UAV Tech, this is the first video he talks about. I would totally point you his direction. I'm going to paste this here in the chat for you. Mustang Horse. There you go, my friend. That's where I would start. Panico FPV in the Discord wants to know, for pilots that are only flying in front of themselves, why don't any of them just run a pair of offset patch antennas for the best signal? Laziness. Just don't want to swap your antennas out. You totally could do that, but laziness, mostly. Some of them do. You've got like the ORT Shield and other antennas that specifically focus in that direction, but mostly it's just laziness. Like, let me show you guys what I mean. Let me just show you guys what I mean. Hang on. Hang on. Make sure I'm not sharing any private information here. Okay. So, comments and more. Oh, well, that's not the worst. Oh, that's actually not the worst. Well, I was going to show you how bad it was, but actually, so this is the one place where it's not the worst. Here in Facebook, and if you go to Instagram Direct, that seems to only contain direct messages, and you can filter by unread. Amazing. Even still, it's kind of, no, look. See, this is the BS I'm talking about. Look, see, mentioned you in their story. This is not a direct message, Instagram. This is not what I need. Liked a message. See, this is the problem. All the actual messages get buried in this BS. Mentioned you in their story. I don't care. I mean, sorry, but like, I just need to see my freaking messages. Anyway, this is the problem. And I just mostly don't... I try to respond to all my other messages, but I just cannot commit to responding to all the Instagram messages. Okay, fine. I'll stop complaining. So email me. Elijah Stevenson, thanks for $2 in the super chat. Is it possible to match a 5-inch Hero 8 quality with 3-inch? No. I mean, you can put a Hero 8 on a 3-inch. I mean, Hero 8 has amazing video quality. You're just not going to match that by anything except for a Hero 8. Let's see. It's 7 minutes to the end of the stream. Oh. Kylie Lee says, my flight controller gets really hot. It's probably dead. That's probably a short circuit. Yep. Did OpenTX 2.4 come out yet? Not as far as I know, Kevin Schindler. The latest release, as far as I know, is 2.3.10. I haven't seen Ciotti. Is he going to stream? He usually shows up by now. Is he going to... I don't know if Ciotti is going to stream. Somebody's suggesting that UAV Tech also has a stream after me. Papa King says, I never saw a Lua C tab in OpenTX. Papa King, they combined the Lua and Lua C option. So it used to be that you could have Lua but not Lua C, but then they were like, yeah, just put your Lua C in there. So that's not the reason that you're having problems with Crossfire Lua. You just want to enable the Lua option. Anyone else having problems with the DJI Air unit not recording? It's funny you asked that, Sky Soldier. I have had that problem. Sky Soldier, I've had this issue where I hit record and the Air unit doesn't record, but the goggles do. The two things you got to do. One of them is you need to go back into the goggle settings and make sure that the Air unit is set to record. I've had it happen that when I update the firmware, the option resets itself. And basically, and I was like, why is my Air unit not recording? Screw you, DJI, you're broken. And then I looked at the goggles, and there's a menu option where when you hit record, it just tells it not to record on the Air unit. Why would you do that? I have no idea. And that had got reset. So double check that. And then the other thing is, lately I've had it happen that I hit record on the goggles, and only the goggles start to record. And then I stop and restart, and now the Air unit also records. So I don't know what the deal is with that. UAV Tech is going to be doing a tuning Q&A stream. Wow, that's gold right there. UAV Tech, post a link to your stream. Ciotti is apparently out on a gig today. Hope it's a good gig. Ciotti is out today, so UAV Tech is going to be taking his time slot. Or maybe it's his time. Maybe it's UAV Tech's time slot. Post that link, man. You're a moderator, so it should even just go straight through. So when you're done here at 3 o'clock, go watch him. If you want to spend your whole Sunday just sitting inside watching live streams, which of course you do. Black Turbine, thank you for 25 HRK. What's an HRK? Croatian Kuna. Oh, that's a new one for me. Thank you for 25 Kuna. Why is LiPo battery shipping so restricted? LiPo battery failure rate is really low. I don't get the reasoning. And you have to ask the shippers about that. I mean, the failure rate is low, but then, you know, if a plane falls out of the sky, that's a pretty big deal. So, I mean, LiPo battery failure rate is low, but then, you know, these yahoos making, yeah, they probably don't trust the manufacturers in some countries not to do sketchy stuff. I don't know. I'm just guessing. Is there any way to put your gyro on a switch? You mean like disable the PID loop like Mr. Steele does with air mode so you can hand launch your quad? Yes, there is. I don't like that, though, so I'm not going to tell you what it is. I don't think it's safe to hand lunch. Oh, when Mr. Steele does it, I should be able to do it. Go ask him how to tell you how to do it then. We got 2 minutes left in the live stream. If you guys keep sending super chats, the live stream's going to end and I'm not going to get to them. Just warning you. What antennas do you prefer for the Sky Zone? Vaz Ion V2, Lumineer Axie Duo, Vaz Crosshair Extreme, or Crosshair Extreme. Those are some that I like. Craig Marshall, what are my thoughts on the iFlight DC3? I mean, it's on the shopping list, and my thoughts are pretty much there as to why it's there. Hansa Bartonich, 50 more. Thank you. Thank you very much for your donation. I looked at FPV years ago, but I couldn't afford it then. A lot has changed. Your videos are great and very useful. Well, on that note, let's end the stream. UAV Tech, let's find his stream real quick. And let's post a link to his stream if you guys want to run over to his channel and watch him do a tuning Q&A. Here's how it's going to start. All right. That's how it's going to start. Oh, is it patron only? June 30th. No, that was June 30th. July 5th, tuning review Q&A live stream. Here it is, the link to his stream, and you guys can go check that out. I will be back on Monday, tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you guys so much for coming out, and I'll see you later.